and start the session. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for attending the Zoom meeting with Bonnie Ruddock from the RTO, Regional Tourism Organization number 9. So we're very happy that Bonnie gave some time to us this morning to explain the adaptation funds that will be released April 1st from the RTO 9. So just some housekeeping issues before we get started. If everybody can keep their microphones on mute until we're done, and then we can open it up for questions if you have any for Bonnie. And then, or you can use the chat box that's below if you want to ask a question down below. And I see that some people don't have sound, they can't hear me. Can everybody hear me all right? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So now I'm going to pass it over to Tian LaRock. We did this in partnership with the Employment and Education Center.
Sound.
No sound
for me.
I see that your bandwidth is very low. Maybe if you take off your video, it might help your sound. So yeah, so I'll pass it over to Tian LaRock from the Employment and Education Center, and we've done this in collaboration. Like we've done a few things in collaboration, and so Tian LaRock.
Good morning, everybody. As Pam mentioned, my name is Tian. I'm the Employer Service Manager here at the Employment and Education Center. We'd like to welcome Bonnie this morning, and thank you, Bonnie, for doing this for us. So Bonnie is the Executive Director of RTO 9 in the Southeastern region. And so the RTO 9 actively promotes tourism for the region and works to support and grow our tourism industry. So we're very pleased to have Bonnie here this morning with us and talk about the RTO 9 Adaptation Fund and get that word out there and really help to support our tourism industry. So Bonnie, I'll let you take it over from this point.
Great, thanks Tiana, and thank you Pam for arranging this today. I'm happy to be here and happy to answer any questions at the end. So as Tiana mentioned, we're a regional tourism organization. So our geographic boundaries go from the Ontario-Quebec border right through to Trenton and down into Prince Edward County. We also cover off a portion of the Rideau Canal, which we share with 2 other partners. Just from a tourism perspective, we don't own it. So 11 of the 11 RTOs, in the province were given an opportunity to work with the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southeastern Ontario to deliver programs such as this. And really the idea of the program is to support small and medium-sized enterprise tourism businesses that have been hit hard by COVID. So really they just wanted to try to offset some of the costs that have been incurred by the smaller business operators. And this is a completely tourism focused fund. There are a number of funds out there for various businesses at the federal and provincial level. This one specifically has been designed for tourism. So we were given $250,000 in the first round of funding, I'll call it, which the applications closed in February for. And so that money will be out before the end of this month. And then we're being given a second round of $250,000 starting April 1st. So the timeline on the second round of funding can be either receipts dated back to June 1st, 2020, going right through till March 1st, 2022. So it can be like purchases you've made in the past, or it can be things that you're going to make in the future as more businesses start to open up this spring. And the idea behind the fund is to support the businesses, and we can give a grant up to 80%. So as an example, if you spent $5,650 on purchases, and I'll go through what the eligible purchases are in a minute, including HST, we could reimburse you for up to $4,000. So that's 80% of the net number. So first off, we take the HST out because we can't reimburse you for that, but we can reimburse you for 80% of the net purchase that you've made. So the tourism operators that are defined by Tourism HR Canada do include accommodations such as hotels, motels, resorts, campgrounds, B&Bs, any recreation and entertainment facilities such as zoos, museums, theaters, sports facilities, amusements parks, outdoor fishing or outdoor adventure outfitters, food and beverage, including restaurants such as either fast food or fine dining, pubs or nightclubs, travel services, so retail travel agencies, wholesale tourism companies, transportation that the companies provide by either air, land, or water, including airlines, bus companies, taxis, etc. Now, they have included retail stores that are heavily dependent on tourism may also be considered. So the priority first off will be given to, you know, the accommodation, the entertainment, and the recreation restaurants, sorry. And then if there is funding left, we will consider some retail establishments after that. So eligible examples of eligible costs. So they would include the implementation of health and safety protocols. So anything that you have to do to provide for additional hand washing or sanitation stations. So if you had to put up portable hand washing stations, you can include that as a cost. You can include the hand sanitizer that goes in that as well. Any alterations you've had to make to accommodate social distancing. So anything you've done to your business that makes it safer to open or reopen because to allow for physical distancing still, it would be included. The purchase of any large-scale PPE or sanitizing equipment such as fog machines would be covered. Cleaning supplies, as I mentioned, so hand sanitizer, any extra supplies you've had to purchase to keep your establishment sanitized. And the acquisition and implementation of digital tools and operating transformations like virtual queues, timed entry ticketing, or contactless check-ins or contactless payment upgrades that you've had to make would be included as well. So all of the application will go online as of April 1st, and we'll leave it up actually until the money is all dispersed. So what we'll do is we do have a committee in place for each of the communities. So for Leeds, Granville, Hastings County, Frontenac County, and Lennox and Addington, we have separate committees in place for each of those communities to help with the review process of the applications. So what we'll be doing is we'll be reviewing them every week. So on Friday, I'll gather up all the applications, send them off to the review committee, give them a couple days to review them. And then hopefully that next week, by the next Friday at the latest, we'll be able to get notice out. So we will do that until the money runs out. And as I mentioned before, it can include anything you've purchased from June 1st, 2020, right through till any purchases of March 1st, 2022. And I'll just quickly go over like ineligible. What we'll do is we'll post the eligible and ineligible expenses online so you can review them with your application. But I'll just go through a few top ones just to give you an idea. So any expenses that have been claimed through any other government support programs would not be applicable. Any renovations that you've made that didn't need to be made to comply with COVID-19 restrictions wouldn't be eligible either. As I mentioned, HST is not eligible. Regular office supplies or employee wages aren't eligible expenses. There's no marketing included in this at all. The intent is just to cover your costs of being open in terms of complying to COVID regulations. So there's no, capital or depreciation, amortization, any types of those expenses, any fines or penalties that you've received from COVID, they wouldn't be covered. any lobbyist fees or anything like that. So those are just sort of the top things that are covered, or not covered, sorry. And I think really that's about it. So it's filling in the application, providing upfront as much of the information as you can with your application, getting it in as soon as you can, because once we've gone through all the funding, there's just no funding left. So we encourage businesses to apply right away. So Leeds Granville, as I mentioned, is one of the counties that is covered in the adaptation fund. But we do have 3 other counties. So although 250,000 sounds like a lot of money to some people, when we've got 4 counties to cover across the region, the money goes fairly quickly. There won't be a minimum amount this time, but there is a maximum amount. So the maximum you can apply for is $20,000, and that's the net reimbursement amount. So you could put in invoices that are higher than that, but the net amount that you'd be reimbursed can't go beyond 20,000. And businesses can apply, like if they applied in the second round and were granted or not granted, either way, they can apply again. But just keeping in mind, it's $20,000 per business, not per application received. So I would suggest that you take a good hard look at what you're doing or what your costs have been in the past, and make a good solid application. And because it does go till March 1st, that gives people some time, you know, opening up April 1st, if you've got something you're planning for expansion that may not be completed until June 1st or June 30th of 2021, that's fine. Get your application in right away. It'll get evaluated, and then we can let you know whether we can help support those costs or not. So. And I think that kind of covers the big overview. So I'm happy to take any questions.
That's awesome. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? You can just unmute yourself if you do, or you can put your hand up. There's a little reaction icon on the bottom of your screen. It's the reaction button, and you can kind of put your hand up. But does anybody have any questions? I think this is a great fund, but like Bonnie says, you need to get your application in, and you know, even to have the maximum amount of 20,000, every little bit does help, right, Bonnie? Especially in this situation of to think that they had just announced it's been a year that we've been in this situation, and hopefully it's not going to be any longer. We know that the vaccination is the key thing, but we see that that's rolling out now. So, and we're hopeful that the tourism season this year will be a little bit better than last year. Not full Monty, but a little bit better. Anybody have any questions?
Pam, I have a question for Bonnie.
Yes, Jim.
Thank you. Bonnie, if you had applications that were in the first round and it was a money situation where there wasn't enough money, do they have to reapply, or do they go into the second round automatically?
No, they should reapply, because we're doing it a bit different this year, or next round, I should say. Whereas we're looking at the applications on a weekly basis, whereas the first round we took applications for 4 to 6 weeks and then evaluated them all.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks for asking that question, Jim, because that was on my mind too. So that's perfect, because I was wondering if people would have to wait till the term is up of March 2022. So that's a long time to wait. So that's great. Any other questions? Well, if there's no other questions,
Jan just put something in the chat. Starts April 1st is their deadline to have applications in.
Oh,
so the applications will be reviewed weekly until the funding is gone. So that's why I suggest that you get your application in as soon as you can. And then what we'll do is we'll just put a notice up in the spot where the application was that the funding has all been dispersed. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, try to, and we rely on our networks, our good networks like we have with Pam at the Chamber, just to kind of get the word out about the application. So.
And I don't mind at all. And that's one thing that I will do, Bonnie. Once we have all the information, I'll put it on our website, so it will be there permanently. I do send out mass emails to our stakeholders and businesses, so they'll get that information. But it's sent out only on a weekly basis or every 2 weeks. So it will be on my my website, and I don't know about Tian if she'll have it on her website or not, but it's just it's a place that it'll be a placeholder for people to get that information in a couple of locations, and then we can redirect it right to your website.
That would be great. Thanks, Pam.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good fund. It would always be nice to have more money, but I think, as Pam said, every little bit helps. We were able to fund, I think, 33 businesses on the first round of funding. So that was good. We had a lot more. We had probably twice that many in applications, and we had probably 3 times the ask for funding that we had available. So it would be good to be able to give it to everyone, but unfortunately that's not the case. So that's why we have a scoring criteria in place and committee in place, just so that, there's objectively looking at it and doing the best we can to support as many businesses as we can.
Sure does express the need out there, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to say, hi, it's Machi. I just wanted to say that this fund complements the Ontario Small Business grant. I represent Bed and Breakfast, and I was not able to apply for that fund for small businesses affected by Ontario lockdown. We were not on the list. Accommodation wasn't on the list. So this is great.
Good.
I'm glad to hear that there's a little bit for you, Maja, because you're right. There is some programs that there is businesses that are falling through the cracks. So that's why we want to offer all these different opportunities for businesses. So get your application in.
It's very much appreciated.
Could you tell me which counties again are covered?
Yeah, Leeds, Grenville, Hastings County, Frontenac County, and Lennox and Addington.
Thank you. Will the participants today on this conference call be notified when the funds have run out?
What we'll do is we'll just tell people to keep checking, and we'll change the status on our oh, sorry, I didn't tell you that. So we have an industry website, which is tourismtalk.ca. Excuse me. And that's where the application will be posted. It is an online application, so you just fill it in online. And I recommend that you take a look at it first, see what all the questions are, and then take some time to go through, because some of the questions are tick boxes, basically just asking about, how much your revenue's been down, how many employees you have, what your cash flow has been like. But some of the other boxes on the application asks for the actual project and the budget. So take a few minutes, look at the application, and then I recommend to people that you, in a Word document, just answer the questions and then copy and paste them back into the application. I find it's easier that way. You can't save the application the way it's set up on our website. So once you start it, you really have to finish it all at the same time. So gather as much of your data as you can first, and then go into the actual application. And and I think there's 10 fields there to submit attachments. And if you have more than that, you can directly email them to me. Unfortunately, we're not able to make the fields indefinite. The best they could do was 10. So if there's any additional information that you couldn't get in the application, just email it directly to me.
Bonnie, is it already up on the website or?
No, it's down right now. We'll post it again April 1st, which I think is a Thursday, right before Easter weekend.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And like I said, we'll have it on our website too, directing it to the RTO website, the Tourism Talk website, just to help promote that.
That's great.
So any other questions? All right, well, it's always a pleasure,
I just want
Bonnie.
to make
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, I just want to make a confirmation that there is a place that we can go to view all the questions and prepare for our application, but the application won't be able to go live online and accept our application until April 1st. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so what I'm saying is
Okay,
when the
thank you.
application goes up April 1st, take a look at it before you start to fill it in. It's not a long or onerous application. So just take a few minutes, take a look at it, just see what you need to gather, and then go back in with all your data gathered. And the more you can put in the application, like just in terms of what your project is about, you know, the costs that are involved with it, and just really what it's going to help cover or help you in terms of reopening. So as much information as you can give us to start would be great.
That's fantastic advice, especially to a lot of people think that some of these applications are very onerous, and it's nice to hear that this one isn't. And similar to the small business grant wasn't onerous. It's not like the Trillium grants out there that are quite long and tedious for sure. So it's to really support the businesses and make it very easy and streamlined for you.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about the application once you've looked at it, feel free to just send me an email. I'm happy to walk you through any of the fields or answer any questions before you get started.
Wonderful. Well, that is fantastic, Bonnie. Like I said, it's always a pleasure. Thanks to Tian too for co-hosting with us. Really appreciate the collaboration that we have with businesses and especially with EEC. And hope everybody enjoys their day. Tian, do you have any closing statement?
Again, thank you, Bonnie, for doing this for us. It means a lot. It shows a lot of support. And again, if any of you have any questions and you need to reach out, you can also reach out to me as well, and I can help guide you and even direct you to Bonnie too.
Thank you both. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, everyone.